when you're playing a character for an extended period of time, as some films take longer than the others, does it sort of creep into or seep into Vidya, the person? I'll tell you why I asked. I read an interview of Al Pacino, and he said when he was doing Scarface, Tony Montana was the character, and violence was something that was something that he enjoyed and was such a big part of who he was. He started to see dogs on the street, and he wanted to kick those dogs, even though he loves dogs. But that violence was such a part of the character he was playing then that it started to become a part of who he was. This may be a bit extreme, but in your case, have you ever found that that the character is sort of merging into the person? Are you able to sort of disconnect when you go home?
Now I am. I think, which is where again the 20 years show, right? Previously, I didn't know how to draw a line. I also thought that was great acting when, you get lost in the process and you can't draw a line between yourself and the character. I thought, oh, that's what great actors do and all that. But I also read a quote by Dustin Hoffman where, he told a younger actor, I don't remember who that was, that I think the actor was prepping for a role where he was exhausted and he kept running and exhausting himself. And he said, why don't you try acting? So, over time, you also learn these things. It's also important that, to maintain your sanity, to keep healthy physically. I think that line is very important. I remember during the Dirty Picture, I had fallen horribly sick because it took a lot out of me. So Nasir Saab had sent me a one-line message at one point when he heard that I wasn't well, saying, very important to keep Vidya and Silk separate. And that's all he said. And I was like, at that time, I'm not sure I fully understood it, but I do think that over time I've been able to do that. And it's not like I play Monjulika and then, I come back home and I just do that on Siddharth because that poor thing. He sees that side of me anyway. No, why? It's true. Of course, Daniel Day-Lewis, I remember he said that, you have to ask my wife how she feels because there's a different man who walks in during every film. I'm sure it does influence some part of you that you can't take away, right? Luckily, I've not done any really violent parts so far to know that. But I do think that, and if I'm playing sexy parts, then I don't think my husband's complaining.
Do you build your characters? I mean, when you're starting to work on a character, do you find that it's you need to get into the heads first, or is it important to get the sort of outward? You go from the out in. Again, I asked because I read a quote where Meryl Streep said she was playing. It was a film that she did with Robert De Niro, and he tried something like 37 jackets because it was so important for him to get the right one. The sort of exterior of it and the sort of appearance was so important for him to be able to get into that character. For you, does a physical transformation or does hair and makeup and styling play is it a big crutch? Yeah.
Huge, because I think when you look the part, it helps you feel the part. I say this a lot of times that when I'm promoting a film, for example, I'm still very much in the zone. But you ask me, for example, to replay something from the film a year later, I may not be able to do it. Because I have that experience is very fresh in my mind. And makeup and hair and costume contribute greatly. They're great tools that we have. Diction, a manner of speaking or walking or a twitch or whatever it is that all those things help greatly. So I think you do focus on getting that right. And but I don't know what comes first because I'm also simultaneously sitting with the director, but I do think that physicality is a huge part of the character because, and I don't think I focus on feeling it until I'm on set because I'm just focused on the physicality and the mental makeup so that on set there is a higher probability of me feeling the moment than there is if I wasn't prepped for that.
Interesting.